Welcome to Driving an SATX. It's important to look ahead to be aware of what's on the road ahead. It'll help you make decisions with plenty of time and make things smoother on your drive. Watch this white Mercedes. This car is currently getting closer and closer to this truck. We all know that it's more likely that this truck will be here in a few seconds, rather than move over or even magically disappear. So this car should go ahead and move into the passing lane in order to pass the truck. But evidently, this driver doesn't look beyond this point here, and has no clue that they're coming up to this truck until here. As soon as they do, hey, look at that sign. Anyway, as soon as they do, there is this car here, and now they have to hit the brake and wait for this car to get by so they can make a move around the truck. If the driver was looking up ahead and saw this truck here, they'd have been able to assess the situation from back here and move over now since it's clear to do so, and wouldn't have had to slow down at all. If the driver was really looking ahead and still did it the way we saw, well, then this driver has no clue what they're doing out here. The concept of a turning lane came to be so that cars would be able to sit in a spot and wait for their light or for their turn to go while not impeding traffic that wants to continue straight. With that in mind, please make sure that you're in the lane and out of the way when waiting in a turning lane. Driving along here, there's an entrance ramp to the highway. Pay attention to this car here. Now I can see from back here that this lane that the car is in is an exit-only lane. So this driver should have no trouble recognizing that from this point either. If they did not wish to take this exit, now would be the perfect opportunity to put on a signal and get out of the lane since there's room to do so. The signal would also let me know that they're coming over, and I would leave this room open for them to make their move. I assess that there's no signal here, so I don't leave this room. As I get closer, the driver decides to put on a blinker and move over. So this was not an acceptable time for this driver to move over, but this was. There are too many drivers out here who think stop signs are not a big deal. Well, I'll tell you what, keeping $200 of my hard-earned money in my pocket is a big deal. And not coming to a complete stop is a stupid way to spend that kind of money. Take note of this guy here, then watch as I back it up to show there was no stop at all. Even with a front row seat to that, it still doesn't look like it's worth $200. But that's just me. On this rainy day, this truck ahead is pulling a rather large trailer. The driver is sitting at a light waiting for their turn to make a right turn. The driver does not lean all the way over to the right because he needs to make sure the trailer clears the corner before turning the truck onto the intersecting road. But he has his blinker on, telling everyone his intentions. Then, here comes this driver with his numbness of the brain, and he gets right in here next to the truck that has a blinker on to turn. So then the first truck makes his move and now sees that this clown pulled into his blind spot. Now it takes him a little longer as he has to make sure that he clears the truck who pulled into the space he was using as a safe space to turn. And in the end, this truck turned at the same time as if he would have waited with his dumbass in the line like he was supposed to. When you're driving on a highway and you choose to drive in the far right lane despite the other lanes being open and a car needs to enter, keep in mind that when the car is entering and the lanes are merging, this is the one and only option for the entering car. So it's not an option. This is how we must get on the highway. If you're already on the highway, you have other options. For instance, the other lanes. And if they're empty and wide open, it's really the safer option to move over while a car enters and then get back into the lane if you really want to or have to. Also, brakes will always have a time and place in which they should be used, but you can't just randomly press them when there's no reason to do so. Here we are again within the vicinity of a driver who's doing the passing lane all wrong. Then we have a couple more vehicles coming up. They eventually catch up to the stack of cars in the passing lane, and then here comes this 4Runner. Now this 4Runner looks to be in a bit of a hurry, and I'm positive the driver's going to be overly frustrated with the cars clogging up the lane. But then something weird happens. The cars begin to move ahead, and the 4Runner seems to have completely forgotten about being in a hurry. Suddenly this becomes a leisurely cruise in the passing lane, of course. I'm not sure what happened there, but then another car makes their way around the 4Runner, and reminds them that they're in a hurry, and the rush is back on. Have you ever heard the phrase, the flow of traffic? Have you ever thought about what that means? It used to mean something back when more drivers knew what the hell they were doing, back when way more drivers took this seriously. Traffic can flow if people use the resources that are given to us. You know how there's a sign at every exit telling drivers which exit that is? You know that there are always signs before that sign letting you know what's coming up? Is any of this falling into place yet? We get signs telling us that an exit is coming up so we can begin to move over and be there in the exit lane when it comes up. Take this sign here. Exit number 176 for Wiederstein Road is 1 mile from here. All I had to do was look up and see this. If I was wanting to take exit 176, I would start planning and make my move over to the side of the highway where exits normally are. If you notice, up ahead there are some cars that make their move. Then after traveling 3/4 of a mile, we get a bigger sign that tells us the exit is now only a 1/4 mile away. Shouldn't be surprising. I mean, we got a sign 3/4 of a mile back. Now we're down to about 1/8 of a mile left, and you can actually see the exit from here. And this is when this SUV decides to move across all the lanes and take the exit. That doesn't help the flow of traffic, and that's not at all how this is supposed to be done. I talked earlier about how people think stop signs are not a big deal. Red lights are an even bigger deal, and the fine is higher. The maximum fine for running a red light in Texas is $275. The longest the light should stay red is 2 minutes. Now, waiting that light a full 2 minutes can be a bitch, but avoiding that bitch is certainly not worth $275. That's just plain stupidity. There are some people that are too good to wait in a line. Heaven forbid they wait like other people. They're better than you and I, and the signs that are posted do not apply to them, or at least, this is how they drive. Like this Honda Pilot. This driver saw this line and thought, oh my goodness, no. I used to cut in line in the 3rd grade and that was okay, so I can do this and it won't bother anyone. That's a POS in a Honda. Now, moving ahead less than a mile down the road, I get to this intersection. Now with all the construction going on here, they've brought this stretch of the road down to 1 lane. Up ahead, there's a small space that's been provided so cars that wish to turn right can do so, without waiting for all the rest of the cars who are waiting for the light to turn green to go straight. I move just far enough out of the way so that cars that are going straight can stay behind me, and the turning cars can get by just as they're doing now. Then suddenly the driver of this Camry saw the extra space here, and thought it was a space that she can sit and wait feeling good about herself because she's in front of the line. I mean, if you're self-centered enough not to realize what was going on with this lane and all the cars that were turning, you must be self-centered enough to have to be ahead of the line just because. So then cars start to build up behind her, and I think to myself, there is enough space here for me to move up and those cars can get around her if they need to. So I start moving up, but again that hurts her ego as she cannot stand to have someone ahead of her. Finally, as I'm coming up to this light, pay attention to this taxi yellow Nissan. This driver is at the red light second behind this car. But this driver also has an ego that cannot stand to be sitting second at a light. So when this light turns green, I allow a little extra space for this motorcycle in front of me because it's stupid and dangerous to get up close behind a motorcycle with a 4-wheel vehicle. It's a matter of courtesy. Some drivers around here may need to look that up. But yellow Nissan thinks that this safe zone I'm leaving is a space to squeeze themselves into, putting the 2 people on the motorcycle at risk and cutting me off pretty closely. Then presses forward with the motorcycle still in front of them, and then jumps back over into the lane they started in, making a difference of only 1 car at the next red light. Created all that danger just so they can say that they're first at the light. It's damn stupid, but that's what it's like driving an SATX.